do some logistical things out of the way. The first thing is that this session will be about 60 minutes. And we'd like to stick to the time to be respectful of everybody else's time. And we are going to cover a breadth of topics today when it comes to scaling Ethereum. We have 4 distinct speakers today. We have Sandeep Nailwal, who's the co-founder and COO of Polygon, and he is joining us today for this session. We have Yuri Kolondi, who's the CEO and founder of Starkware, who's also joining us today. We have Jay Prasad, who's the product manager of the crypto team, and we have at Coinbase, and we have Luke Youngblood, who is a senior staff software engineer at Coinbase as well. And together, we're going to talk about all things scaling Ethereum. But before I get started, I wanted to get some legal disclaimer out of the way from my friends in the legal team at Coinbase. So what it states is as follows. Please note that today's conversation is for informational purposes only and does not constitute legal or investment advice. We may make forward-looking statements in the presentation, and actual results may vary materially from today's statements and are subject to risks and uncertainties. That was a mouthful, but it was important to get it out of the way. And now we can dive into the topic at hand today. So let me set the context a little bit, and then we'll go around the room talking about this topic. As we all know, the rise of ecosystems like NFTs and more adoption of DeFi, DAOs, etc., has led to a massive influx in users, which has led to increased demand for block space. And as a result, prices have increased, gas prices have increased, and that has priced out most users. And what we want to do today is talk about the future where millions, if not billions of users are using Ethereum and how that future can actually come to life through many different solutions, 2 of which we'll talk about today, one from Starkware, one from Polygon. And what does this mean for the regular, for our industry to bring in more and more users around there? To give you some idea about the scale that we are talking about today, I mean, we all know, and by the way, the stats are a little bit older. So since I took them, they might have increased as well. But the total TVL on Ethereum is today $120 billion. And all TVL on non-Ethereum chains is around $40 billion. Polygon is around 5 to 6 billion, if I'm not wrong, and the TVL in bridges is around 11.5 billion. You know that those assets are locked in bridges to move from Ethereum to other networks as well. And Starkware is also growing drastically. Last I read was that weekly number of StarkX transactions were around 5.6 million. Incredible achievement by both Polygon and Starkware as well. And today we're going to dig into each of these things and unpack and unravel that for this audience. So the first and foremost thing we want to do is bring in these speakers. You know, I always mention that there's no builder session good enough if people don't know who the builders are. So I will invite each of the builders today to introduce themselves and talk about their story and how they got to where they are, and share with us a fun fact that we couldn't find about them on LinkedIn or Twitter. So we'll start with Yuri. Yuri, you're on the spot. Tell the audience about yourself, your journey, and a fun fact about you.
So hi everyone. Can you hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you.
Terrific. So hi, I'm Uri. I'm co-founder and CEO at Starkware. I have been an entrepreneur for the past 20 some years. Co-founders include, of course, Eli Ben Sasson, Michael Ryabtsev, and Alessandro Chiesa. Eli Ben Sasson and I have known one another since the late 80s, going back to our days in the Israeli military and then undergrads together. So it's decades old friendship. Fun fact you don't know about me from, unfortunately, I'm going to have to exclude LinkedIn because this is in fact on my LinkedIn profile. I am painfully good looking. Fortunately for all of you, this is a voice call. So.
That is an amazing fun fact. Thank you. Let's bring in Sandeep as well from Polygon. Sandeep, introduce yourself, tell us your story and a fun fact.
Yeah, so hi guys, I'm Sandeep. I'm one of the co-founders at Polygon, and at Polygon, I take care of all things business, and then I kind of see my job as to manage anything and everything related to the business. I feel that Polygon today is like after Ethereum, I think it's the most adopted solution by third-party teams. I think we recently crossed 1,000+ applications. and we can talk more about it, like what we are doing over there. Our DAUs on Polygon chain recently surpassed Ethereum main chain. And in terms of like fun fact, I'm really not that fun, to be honest. Like but I think I'm more of a, like, people consider me more of a workaholic, in that sense. But fun fact is that I personally feel that I am a very lazy person. While a lot of people feel that I have a lot of energy and all that, I feel myself that I'm very lethargic and very lazy person. So that might be a fact not many people know.
That's good to hear. I mean, when you are a builder, you're busy all the time, so makes sense. Let's bring in two other speakers. We'll bring in Luke Youngblood from Coinbase. Luke, introduce yourself and share your fun fact.
Hi, everyone. Great to be here this morning. So my name is Luke Youngblood. I've been working in tech for a couple decades. Before Coinbase, I was at Amazon Web Services, but also I got into crypto early in 2010, started mining Bitcoin, and it's been a hobby of mine for some time, but I didn't make crypto my career until about 2018 timeframe. My brother and I started a proof of stake infrastructure startup called Blockscale, and we helped launch some of the early proof of stake networks like Tezos and Cosmos. We were some of the Genesis validators on those networks. And that's what brought me to Coinbase. Coinbase acqui-hired me to help build out staking rewards. And here I've helped build out staking rewards for Tezos, Cosmos, Algorand, and most recently Ethereum 2.0, which has been quite a journey. And a fun fact about me is that I used to be a house music and electronic music DJ and music producer. And if I ever stop working crypto hours, I'd love to pick that hobby back up again.
All right, just tonight, Luke, I need to see that music. I did not know you had that hobby. That's incredible.
Look for my SoundCloud. Don't share it with me.
Well, Jay, welcome as well. Introduce yourself and tell us a fun fact.
Hey, everyone. Pleasure to be here. I'm excited to talk to you all. So yeah, my journey also started in crypto back in 2012, but I also fully got in 2017. I started my own blockchain data and analytics company. We were looking at on-chain flows and DeFi transactions before it was cool. And then Coinbase also acquired my company in 2020, and I've been working a variety of roles in Coinbase. And most recently, I've been looking deeply into the general layer 2 and interoperability space. So super excited to be in this conversation. And maybe a fun fact, maybe it's a crypto fun fact. So I've used every single bridge and layer 2 solution that's live in the market today as part of my research, and moving from one to, I probably spend days moving from between these solutions. So maybe not so fun, but also fun.
Makes sense. Well, let's get started now that we know all the builders today. So first and foremost, I think we're going to start off at the high level for the audience to help understand the different types of scaling solutions for Ethereum. And the two of you, Sandeep and Uri, you've taken very different approaches. And what we want to do is start off by asking you to explain to the audience what approaches you've taken and why. So let's start with Uri.
Sure. So we at Starkware are commercializing Starks. Stark is a zero-knowledge proof protocol to build scaling solutions. Later on, we'll add to that privacy solutions. We started out with StarkX, which is a scaling engine as software as a service. So scaling in the cloud, a standalone application, and we use this to scale DYDX, Sorare, Immutable X, Diversify Sellers going live next month. And the numbers there that we've seen are quite staggering. Just to give one example, DYDX last week had a $10 billion trading day, which is 500 times. And when I say this, I have to repeat 500 times, not 500%. There's a world of difference between the two. 500 times the volume that they did only 3 months ago. And I don't think that there are too many examples in the engineering world or in the business world for that kind of that rate of growth. So that's StarkX, our standalone scaling engine. And beginning of this year, we announced StarkNet. StarkNet is our permissionless ZK rollup. We'll talk in a minute about what a ZK rollup is. But the timing couldn't be better because a few hours ago, we announced that StarkNet Alpha, which has been on public testnet since mid-June, is coming to mainnet by November.
Amazing. Congratulations.
And this would be eventually a fully permissionless, fully decentralized ZK rollup. for the world to sort of to use in order to scale their applications with Ethereum security as the underlying layer one.
Amazing! Congratulations on the launch.
Thank you.
Sandeep, tell the audience how what approach you guys have taken and why.
Yeah. So, as I was saying that Polygon, started as Matic Network, and this was back in 2017. And at that point in time, the Plasma was the hottest thing in the Ethereum scaling space. And we started out as a, team building Plasma solution. And then, we were very determined right from the start that our core goals were first actually to ship instead of 2017, 18 was the time where a lot of projects were, raising, huge amount of money and all that. And at the end of the day, it was more of a, white paper kind of thing and all that. We were very focused on shipping and making sure the, platform is adopted. So, and then at that point in time, doing payments on Plasma was easier, but we wanted to have a more generic solution. And, thinking that eventually with Plasma, we'll be able to, scale smart contracts also. We started building, kind of this, Plasma solution, which is built on top of an EVM. So that was there. And then, in the last 2 years, the hype, kind of this thing, like from the Ethereum community, from state channels to Plasma to, optimistic rollups, zero knowledge rollups, and, some other intermediate approaches in between. So kept moving. And then, we launched our mainnet back in June 2020. And, it was a production ready solution. And, that's why it saw a huge amount of traction in the industry. As I was mentioning that by daily average users, this chain, Polygon, we call it Polygon POS chain, has more users than the mainnet Ethereum. Recently we surpassed that, and it is actually contributing back hugely to Ethereum because out of these users, I don't have the exact stats right now, but few weeks back, around 30% of the users on this chain were first time, they ended up using Ethereum for the first time. 30% addresses were actually newly generated addresses. So this Polygon POS chain was our first solution, but we also realized that first of all, this the scaling spectrum for Ethereum is should not be extremely narrow minded towards having with layer two and pure layer two and then kind of the sidechain debate that has been very prevalent in the Ethereum community. Our kind of perspective of scaling Ethereum is much wider than that. We believe that you can have from a pure sidechain to a commit chain or to a fully sovereign chain, still connecting back to Ethereum the way it is with the Cosmos ecosystem. And of course, with pure layer twos like optimistic rollups, ZK rollups, all have their own space and role to play in the Ethereum scalability. So and then approaches keep coming and going, and you eventually find a better approach, and then the whole community moves to that. So we were very clear that we would, if we want this project, this particular community to stand the test of time and become like a long-term project, we did not want to, at Polygon, did not want to pigeonhole ourselves in one particular approach. So Polygon essentially is a multi-approach Ethereum solution, and we envision a multi-chain world which is built on top of Ethereum. And with that objective in mind, we have multiple solutions. Some of them are fully on mainnet, some of them are announced in testnet and things like that. So our main flagship product right now is Polygon POS. Then we have Polygon SDK, with which you can create your own sovereign chains which are connected to Ethereum. You can compare them to sovereign chains in the Cosmos ecosystem. Then we recently merged Hermes, which is now called Polygon Hermes, which is first decentralized zero knowledge solution, but it only supports payments right now. So, the use cases are focused around payments on that, and USDT is available on that network. Then we have also announced and some early versions of on testnet or Polygon Avail, which is a generic data availability solution, which we feel that all the layer twos pushing entire data back into Ethereum is kind of problematic for achieving long-term scalability. So Polygon Avail is basically our data availability solution. And apart from that, also we have yet to be announced a few more very exciting. In fact, like the Hermes acquisition, and recently we announced Ernst and Young's Nightfall solution that is also becoming a part of Polygon suite, where we are going to cater to a lot of enterprises. But apart from that, also we still feel that this is tip of the iceberg for our other things that we are doing on the zero knowledge side. We'll in the coming months we'll be announcing. So these are the 7 8 suite of solutions, and we believe there will be few more will be added. And we want to give essentially like the way today Web2 world works, where a developer actually goes to AWS or Google Cloud and all that, and they are looking for Web2 execution engine or a centralized execution engine. We believe a Polygon would be a Web3 counterpart of it, where the developers will come and they will ask for Web3 or decentralized execution engine, and they can choose whatever solution suits their requirement. So that is like a multi-chain, a multi-approach Ethereum scaling solution or Ethereum scaling platform is the vision of Polygon,
Awesome.
and we are pursuing that.
Awesome. Yeah, there's a lot to unpack in there for today. Maybe there are multiple threads that's coming to my mind, but maybe one of the things we can start off with is just giving the audience a little bit more details, Yuri, about the approach you're taking. So I think each of these solutions are taking a different approach. I mean, Polygon is EVM compatible. Starkware has a different approach. Polygon initially started with no ZK rollups, but now they have Hermes. But you guys believe in ZK rollups as well. So, Yuri, go into a little bit of detail to say, go into detail around your approach and what are some of the trade-offs, if any, between the well-known trilemma that you have made in bringing Starkware to the market.
So I'm not sure what trilemma you're referring to. I do want to sort of, before I forget, I want to refer to the EVM compatibility issue. The Warp team at Nethermind, as of a few weeks ago, has a compiler from Solidity to Cairo. Cairo is our zero-knowledge proof language that we use on StarkNet and for our StarkX deployments. So the Warp team already has support for general computations for arbitrary smart contracts. And I think within a couple of weeks, they expect to support composability as well.
Awesome.
They've moved at an astounding pace. I note my insistence on not using the word warp as I describe the pace of their progress. So that's on EVM compatibility.
Awesome.
So now let's say a few words about ZK rollups. So ZK rollups, the concept is actually does not rely on zero knowledge. So Ellie is sort of, he really hates the name ZK rollups in the sense that they claim to do, something they don't actually provide, which is zero knowledge. The only ones on the market currently who actually provide a proper zero knowledge, like zero knowledge on the privacy of the inputs, is the Aztec team. The rest of us are doing what we call validity proofs, meaning we rely on the base layer of zero knowledge proofs, what we refer to as computational integrity, to take a large computation conducted off-chain in the cloud, generate a proof attesting to the integrity of that computation. And the only thing that you now want to do on layer one is verify that proof. Now, that large computation in the cloud can typically be a large batch of many smaller computations. And one obvious example of such a small computation would be a transaction. So every hour or so, we batch together about 12,000 transactions from DYDX. We generate a Stark proof in the cloud attesting to their integrity, meaning that whatever business logic was set for this for the DYDX StarkX deployment, that this is in fact proven as correct by the proof. We generate that proof, and that proof alongside with a commitment to the new state of the system are sent to the blockchain. Now, the verifier on-chain, this is a smart contract that checks the proof. The verifier, in a completely trustless fashion, verifies the proof, and if that proof is accepted as true, then that commitment to the new state of the system is in fact recorded on-chain, and this sort of completes the progression of the system from its previous state before the batch to its new state following the processing of this batch of transactions. So that's the very basic concept of validity proofs. Beautifully enough, thanks to Cairo, this can be applied to any business logic. So today, in production on mainnet, we support payments and swaps. This is done by, for example, by Diversify. We support perpetual contracts. This is done by DYDX. We support minting and trading of NFTs. This is done by the wonderful folks at Sorare and the powerhouse at Immutable X. And we're bringing DeFi pooling, which is another beautiful concept that I think Coinbase should bring to market as well. We are bringing that to market with Seller Network in a few weeks' time.
That's awesome.
And Yuri, just one question. I think Sanchin earlier mentioned the trilemma. Specifically, when we think about kind of layer one networks like Bitcoin and Ethereum, we always think about scalability, security, and decentralization. Those are kind of the three factors that we can play with when designing a new network. And so, as you did mention that a lot of the computation is done kind of off chain and in the cloud potentially, that just means like there's a trade-off there that you're making with decentralization aspect. So my perspective is in progressive decentralization. I think it's great to start solutions centralized manner, deliver user value, and then decentralize over time. I'm just curious how your team is thinking about this as well. And
exactly in those terms. I think of this as the proverbial crutches and in this regard, we're not inventing anything. We're following the playbook that the optimistic rollups sort of used in a very sensible way, right? So come Starknet Alpha on mainnet, initially there will be a single operator, which will be Starkware, which will function as both the sequencer and the prover. Now, as we head into 2022, these two critical functions of the network, namely sequencing and proving, will become fully decentralized, permissionless and decentralized.
Makes sense. I think one thing that'll be good to also bring in Sandeep on is like, let's go Sandeep in a little bit detail on your side. How have you structured the approach here? And specifically, I'd love to understand the decision making that went behind Hermes' acquisition. So as you talk to that, help us understand what role they play in the broader ecosystem that you are envisioning.
Yeah. I mean, in terms of the approach, like I think that's the I would want to again emphasize that Polygon is a multi-solution approach, right? So Polygon POS, has a particular kind of approach. It started with the commit chain where the validators are, basically sign up on Ethereum, and then they become participant in running this kind of a POS chain. And then the validators actually, like all the validators of this chain actually collaborate and remain in consensus between each other whenever any money is moving, to and fro Ethereum or any computation is happening on this layer. So it's not exactly like a full-blown layer 2, but it is also not like a pure side chain. It's like somewhere in the middle. And that's why, like I was explaining that, for like at Polygon, we believe that layer 2 or Ethereum scalability is a spectrum. So it also starts from a lot of like pure sovereign side chains, which do add a lot of value, like, XDAI side chain can also be an example. It also adds value to Ethereum as an ecosystem. And there are countless such pure side chains. And then you have this Polygon POS chain, which is somewhere in the middle of a layer 2 and a pure side chain. So if you imagine this spectrum, then the Polygon's approach starts becoming more clearer. So we have Polygon SDK, which let's say you have a spectrum which on the leftmost extreme has like pure side chains, where we have like Polygon SDK, where you can create pure side chains to Ethereum. Then you kind of start moving towards the right, and then you have Polygon POS chain, which is somewhere in the middle. And then these layer 2 solutions, like which include ZK rollups, optimistic rollups, and like enablers like data availability and all that would fall in the on the right side of this spectrum, right? So on the right most extreme, you have like pure layer 2s, like zero knowledge rollups, complete zero knowledge rollups. I'm not talking about like validums which have their data on a separate committee, which I think Uri was mentioning about, let's say, Starknet. As far as whatever my knowledge is. So kind of a valid.
Actually, yeah, that's actually, yeah. Starknet actually has on-chain data at this point.
Yep.
Roll up.
Yeah, awesome. So, but I think you guys do have a plan for Starknet where the data availability will be with the Starknet. And sorry for my ignorance if I am mistaken in that, right? So yeah, so I mean, again, like this is on the spectrum. So on the rightmost extreme, you will be having like a roll up which will have full data availability on Ethereum. And then if you slightly move towards left, you will kind of see, you can have solutions where data availability can be on a separate committee, and then the proofs only are in Ethereum. So we were very clear that on this side of the spectrum, we want to provide more solutions. And in our mind, like the main options were optimistic rollups or ZK rollups, right? So so in the past like 6 to 8 months of our research, we we kind of grew stronger and stronger in confidence that zero knowledge, in order to scale the layer 2, like zero knowledge technology is the most ideal solution. And of course, like learning and watching Starkware, also, like, which is by a mile is the topmost team in the zero knowledge scaling space in Ethereum, uh, and on the larger space also. So watching the work of the existing top players in the space, we grew in confidence, and we kind of reached a position where strategically, we believe that we should be all in on zero knowledge technology. And so then we announced this $1 billion fund, and then within that fund, like Hermes has been our has been the first kind of merger or acquisition, in that sense, you can say, in the Polygon ecosystem. And Hermes has a very dedicated, and Jordi Bellina is a very celebrated Ethereum developer. And he has built and done really great work in the zero knowledge space, like building Circom and whatnot. So it was very clear in our mind. And plus, second thing is very, like, from the very start, like one another part of our DNA which matched is that they wanted to build this decentralized zero knowledge rollup, which they have already delivered on the mainnet, but it's just that it only supports payment. It's kind of matches what we were building at Polygon. Like, we built this like commit chain, which is like highly decentralized. It has 100 plus validators and things like that. So so that's where we zero with Hermes, as adding Hermes as one of the suite, one of the solutions in our suite was obvious to us. Then Polygon, like Ernst and Young, Nightfall has like Ernst and Young has been doing a lot of great work in the enterprise space, and they have been like pioneers in kind of promoting mainnet integrations with the enterprises, and they are building privacy on this layer too. Like, they have a zero knowledge rollup which supports payments and NFTs with privacy. So we kind of went into a strategic collaboration with them. And then there are other zero knowledge solutions, which we'll be unveiling very soon. At least two more. And then between these zero knowledge solutions, the difference can be in terms of the approach. Like, one of the approaches is, where the EVM bytecode is directly processed on this ZK EVM, which we are building, whereas the other approaches involve like a transpiler like system, which Uri was mentioning, like where Nethermind is building something which gets transpiles solidity into Cairo. So we are also building a similar kind of solution where you'll be able to compile Solidity into this intermediate language, which will run on the virtual machine. And then that solution will also offer more opcodes to the developers than what are available in Solidity. So that is kind of our longer term bet. And for the shorter run, we have this direct EVM, Solidity bytecode being run on a ZK EVM, which is the Hermes approach. So yeah, that's
Makes
why
sense.
we have within the ZK scaling itself, we have multiple approaches.
Sandeep, Sandeep and Yuri, I'd love to jump in and ask a little bit about bridge technologies. As we look at migrating value from Ethereum layer 1 to all of these new layer 2 technologies, I think bridges are a key enabler of this, and they're a really important piece of the infrastructure puzzle. And there are different approaches to take when you're developing a bridge. I really admire the Polygon approach, for example, because all of the validators on L2 are also validating bridge transactions, which I think increases your security. But there's a trade-off there in the sense that you may pay higher fees the more validators that have to confirm those transactions, right? So there's a trade-off between having a low-fee bridge and having good security on the bridge. And then other L2 bridges have taken different trade-offs where they have perhaps a committee of 3 or 5 signers that must sign every transaction on the bridge. That lowers their fees, but also perhaps we shouldn't have billions of dollars of value with just 5 people securing that value or 5 entities. So I'd love to hear from both of you about your different approaches to bridge technologies and what trade-offs you've made in your design.
So at the moment, so we've focused up till now on the layer 2 to layer 1 bridge. I should maybe step back and say that in terms of our as much as we focus on ZK rollups as a product offering and a technology, and we believe that we can do one thing and do that well, only one thing and do that well. As much as we believe that, we also are fully of the opinion that it's going to be a bifurcated ecosystem, and there's going to be plenty of activity remaining on layer 1 and on different L2s, etc. And the bridges matter and are needed. So that's sort of our view. Now, the first bridge that we focused on naturally is the bridge between layer 1 and layer 2. So going from Ethereum into StarkX, and going in a couple of months' time, going from Ethereum into StarkNet. There's no issue of sort of the inherent security of the system, right? So the operator of the ZK rollup cannot transfer funds absent a signature from the owner of those funds. So this is the layer 1 security that you saw in the brochures. This is what you get there. I should add that on top of being very secure, because of the benefits of validity proofs, you can get fast withdrawals in these systems. And fast withdrawals basically means that you can withdraw funds from layer 2 to any address on layer 1 today in production. So this is diversified, DYDX, and so on. You can withdraw funds to layer 1 at blockchain time, meaning as quickly as you would do it from one address on Ethereum to another. And this is done very cost effectively. So the capital efficiency is in fact hundreds of times better than what you would find on some of the other L2 approaches like optimistic rollups. This is a fundamental advantage of ZK rollups over optimistic rollups. Now, in terms of bridges between, so I covered let me just step back a second. I made the case for, we think bridges are important. We started out by focusing on bridges between layer 1 and layer 2. And the next step, of course, is bridges between different layer 2s. There are a bunch of teams trying to solve this problem. We are talking basically to all of them. We think there's some very exciting developments in this realm. We've also put out a design demonstrating how we would move funds from StarkX to different side chains. And if you have a bridge from StarkX to a side chain, you essentially now have bridges between different side chains, right? With StarkX being the intermediate stop.
Yeah. I think, go ahead, Sandeep.
No, go ahead. Sorry.
I was going to say, let's hear your perspective as well. And then I want to talk also about how do we bring all this amazing innovation that's happening to the masses and talk about some of the things that we've been thinking about at Coinbase as well. So I'll let you finish, Sandeep, and then we'll jump into those questions as well.
Yeah, I mean, in terms of the bridge, I think, Luke mentioned about the Polygon POS bridge, which, I'm very glad, like not many people talk about it, on Twitter, but that the bridge, that the way we have designed is is the kind of the most decentralized bridge in that sense, because it needs 2x3 consensus from all the Polygon validators, even to confirm the incoming or outgoing transactions from this layer. So, I mean, again, like I would say that the design decisions were, purely ingrained in, our core philosophy that, we want to build, layer two, but, in a decentralized manner. And, I mean, I definitely we are fully, we fully believe in progressive decentralization, but, like some of these core design decisions we wanted to have from the start. So bridge is has been there have been some other independent teams also who have done kind of reviews on the kind of bridges that are available, and I think a few very reputed teams have also said that Polygon's bridge design is the best. But it also has its caveats, because when you have these multiple validators doing a consensus on them, so kind of designing a very smooth UX is kind of hard, because a lot of things take place in async. So that is kind of the downside of that. But then it has been very, very secure. $50 billion have moved with this bridge to and fro, and then not even a single dollar has been lost in transit. So that's there. And then but the main thing is, again, this is one type of bridge which is for the Polygon POS, and then for the other solutions that we are building, they will have different they will possibly have different types of bridges. And then Yuri was mentioning about these bridges between these various kind of layer twos, which is going to be like a as we said, multi-chain world on top of Ethereum. So in that sense, we believe that, I mean, as of now, as a protocol builders, we are more focused on building these layer one to layer two bridges, and between these layer two bridges, between layer two, like intra layer two bridges, we are relying on the third party teams who are building these bridges. Even for the layer one and layer two, one of the design principles is also that if, let's say, there are large number of participants or kind of reputed teams who can build these bridges even between layer one and layer two, I mean, we would be very open to kind of have those integrations. Even with the Polygon bridge, for example, people can build their own similar copy of these bridges and then host them separately. They will still have the same level of consensus and the kind of approvals from the validators of Polygon chain. So yeah, those are some of the design principles.
Nice.
And then yep.
That's awesome. Yeah, it's awesome to see the breadth and depth of thinking that has gone behind that. And I think one of the things we'll all agree is that if you zoom out from the technology, I mean, at the end of the day, we're doing all this stuff so Ethereum and the world of crypto becomes accessible to more and more users around the world. And this becomes a way to onboard them due to cheaper transactions and easier to participate. But at the same time, the onboarding itself is critical as well. So what I wanted to do was chat with this group, including Luke and Jay, about how Coinbase and other companies like Coinbase can play a role in bringing these next generation of users onto the network. So let's start with Jay, and we'll go to Luke after that.
Yeah, thanks, Sanchin. So, I want to maybe talk about two types of users we have at Coinbase. So one is, we have kind of DeFi native, crypto native users, and they typically use our Coinbase wallet product. This wallet product, which is self-custody, offers optionality. So users can choose, between Polygon or Optimism or Arbitrum or Starkware in this product. And they decide what they want to choose based on the trade-offs of the underlying technology. But the bigger audiences are around 68 million of our just Coinbase.com retail app. these people don't really know or care if they're using optimistic rollups, ZK rollups, sidechains, etc. They just want to use a network which has a lot of apps, which is really cheap to use, which is fun to use, which has the coolest NFTs and the coolest applications. And so these are the people that we've been trying to build for, where we think that from Coinbase's perspective, we really want to abstract away the complexity of bridging, of the underlying technology, of the fraud proofs, all these different type of proofs, and just provide like a seamless user experience from our applications where users can just deploy it, can just deposit and withdraw and just use anything they want. And maybe Luke also has been thinking about this, so I'll just hand it over to him to provide his perspective.
Thanks, Jay. Yeah, so if we look at the bridges that exist today, they're starting to see a lot of adoption as more and more users are wanting to use DeFi, but in a less expensive way, right? Like nobody wants to pay $50 for a DEX trade if you can pay pennies on a L2. And so we do think this will bring crypto to the next million plus users or 10 million plus users. This will bring DeFi to them, but some of the characteristics of central exchanges actually make this very easy for us to be a key player in this space. So, for example, we have years of experience custodying billions of dollars in crypto in cold storage, and we also know how to manage liquidity so that customers can withdraw their crypto. So the vast majority of our crypto is held in cold storage, but we keep enough in our hot wallets so that customers can withdraw in a timely manner. And by the same token, you can deposit, let's say, Ethereum on mainnet, and then you can withdraw to an L2 or to a side chain. And you can be pretty confident that we have some of the best security minds in the world protecting the value that's in that bridge. So if in this sense, you're just basically using Coinbase as a bridge, we can reduce your fees, so you're not going to have to pay hundreds of dollars in a bridging fee. And also, we have the track record of securing tens of hundreds of billions of dollars worth of crypto. So as we start to see these bridges gain more and more TVL, Polygon's bridge is at about $4.5 billion. Avalanche is at about 2.8 billion. Arbitrum is about 1.5 billion today. As we start to see them gain more and more value, I think we're going to start to see attacks on some of these bridges and hacks. And I think this is a area that we can bring some of our security expertise in securing, lots of crypto and cold storage and really help the market to succeed. And so I'm really excited to see Jay and his team build great user experience around that, because I think the user experience really matters. I don't know if you have any comments on the user experience, Jay.
Yeah, and I think that's something we really care about, because what we've noticed is, say that a user has USDC on Polygon, they sometimes end up sending it to the Ethereum USDC address because these are the address types are similar. So when we do roll out these support for these technologies for our users, we just want to be so cognizant about the user experience, because we don't want to we don't want to end up in a world where users have lost a bunch of funds because they've used the wrong network, or they've been compromised in some other ways. So I think that's like one aspect for adoption of L2, where wallets and exchanges and custodians play a huge role. And I think that's just an important part. So their underlying technology is super key in providing kind of the scalability, decentralization, and security guarantees. But I think equally important is the role of kind of the exchanges, custodians, stakers, et cetera, in securing networks and providing tools and providing resources and great user experiences to onboard kind of the next, say, 100 million users. And I'm just curious, maybe Yuri, I'm sure you think a lot about onboarding kind of users and onboarding ecosystem partners. How have you gone about this approach?
Yeah, that's a great question. So as much as we think that the ecosystem will remain, sort of bifurcated over different platforms, and layer one will remain a very dominant presence, we also, like many others, we realize that layer one transaction costs are just a complete showstopper. And right now, it's even worse than being very expensive. It's very expensive and very volatile. And so there's really no way of expecting sort of the long tail, those billion users of the TikTok users to come to DeFi with these transaction costs. And so in this regard, we think DeFi pooling is a very interesting solution, which is both very scalable, relies on layer 2 on ZK Stark's and Starkware's software stack to bring DeFi to the masses. And the concept is a very simple one. DeFi remains on layer 1, where it was born and where it will continue to evolve. But the pooling of demand of user interest in these services is moving to layer 2. So we'll have all these users on layer 2, and these pools, think of it like a car pool. All these pools will form on a regular basis, on demand, on a regular basis, as the operator chooses. The Coinbase could be the operator, or many other players could be operators. And now let's say there's a ride, a pool leaving for Ave at 12 noon. And so I put in $100, and Luke puts in 50, and Jay puts in another 50, and off we go. And now we get our share in this pool as it represented as a token, completely self-custodial. The operator has no custody of our funds at any point. And this pool now goes out to Ave, comes back with whatever it comes back with, and the proceeds are distributed according to ownership in this pool, and the pool is now basically dismantled. Now the pool paid a single layer 1 transaction. We as users paid basis points, saved ourselves a ton of money, and we allowed a whole bunch of demand from smaller checks to participate in the DeFi game. And for us, this is sort of a true democratization of the whole DeFi world to the long tail of users.
Yeah, that analogy is super cool. Thank you for making it easier for people to understand. I like that analogy a lot. In the last 10 minutes, because we're up at time as well, one of the things we do, Yuri and Sandeep and others on this show, is that we talk about, in the end, what is a prediction, or what is the worldview that you all hold a year out from today? So in 365 days, imagine the world that we're all living in, and what is one prediction you would like to leave us all with about what that world will be? And maybe in 365 days, we can come back and see if that happened or not. So we'll start with Sandeep, and then we'll go to Yuri and others.
Yeah, so I mean, we at Polygon, we look at like the fundamental growth of the ecosystem in terms of how many number of users would be there. So we believe that I mean, with the kind of scalability available, I think previously, even with Bitcoin and Ethereum, I think hardly we could accommodate like a DAU of 1 million users. I think with all this scalability now available, be it at Ethereum scaling or like some of the other layer ones, we like the industry is ready to onboard the next 1 to 10 million users. I mean, where exactly, like 6, 7, 8 million or 10 million, like we don't know, but somewhere around that I think the industry is ready to onboard those. So my prediction is, or what I want to I would want to see is that the blockchains have, like all the blockchains together, with all their applications, we start having a DAU of 5 to 10 million users, right? So I mean, that would be the kind of dream come true in the next 1 year.
Yeah, let's try to get between 5 to 10 and maybe crush it too. So let's hope for that. Yuri, tell us your prediction.
So my prediction, actually, I won't focus on numbers. I'll sort of focus on themes. And so where I want to be in a year from now is in a situation where Starknet is a decentralized, permissionless ZK rollup where thousands of developers can deploy their smart contracts. Users can interact with the network Ethereum style. And the protocol now both funds the activity of the basic functions in the network, like the sequencers and the provers, but also remunerates developers who write useful code as a means of sort of providing them with a source of income. So I think that's a vision that's very compelling to me. I think that another theme that I find to be very compelling is the ability to build in layer 2 natively all sorts of applications that one simply cannot build on layer 1. So this sort of interim friction point that we saw, I think it's sort of quickly diminishing now as people are observing DYDX's massive success. But this notion of people coming in and saying, well, let me port my layer 1 logic to layer 2. The stuff that was written on layer 1, because of the computational limitations of layer 1, on layer 2, and can really harvest its full potential.
Yeah, I love that analogy, because there's this, in technology, there's this analogy of an S-curve, right? When technology evolves, people just do portability, just bring what they're used to into a new technology. But then over time, they start to do things that are native to that technology. So I couldn't agree more.
Exactly.
And I'm looking forward to that world as well. Luke, tell us your prediction.
My prediction is that in a year from now, there will be over 100 million DeFi users, but most of them won't know they're using DeFi because they'll be accessing it through a traditional bank or a financial institution, and it'll be DeFi on the back end, but to them, it just looks like a high yield savings account. So my prediction is that normal users will be onboarded, but maybe not in the way we expect with a standard Ethereum wallet.
Yeah, and that'll be a dream come true, which is millions of users using it without actually having to understand the nuances of what's in the backend or DeFi in the backend, like you said. I'll be very excited about that vision. Jay, what do you want to wrap us up with? What's your prediction?
Yeah, I'll maybe go numbers. I'll predict, and since it's a layer 2 topic, in a year from now, I'll predict 4 to 5 mainstream layer 2 solutions. Right now, we see around 500,000 daily active Ethereum addresses. I think each of these layer 2s will have 5 million daily active addresses in a year from now. So, user growth will go like crazy to keep up with this technology.
Incredible. Everybody's very bullish about the future, which is how it should be. And thank you, everybody who are the builders in this community, to help us get to that vision. So thank you, Yuri, for joining. Thank you, Sandeep, for joining. Thank you, Luke and Jay, for joining as well.
Thanks,
everyone.
It was a
Thank
pleasure.
you.
Thank you, everyone. Thank you.
Bye-bye.